Hi, welcome to episode 334 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy Kara on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, and that's where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea where I sell my handspun yarn and knitting patterns. We do have a Ravelry group. It's called The Corner of Knit and Tea, and there are some festivities for Tour de Fleece going on in there. However, we also have a Facebook group called Team CKT for Tour de Fleece, and we can also participate on Instagram, so I do not spend much time over on Ravelry these days. So hi, how are you? It is Monday, June 21st. Summer is upon us, and I have lots to tell you. I hope you've had a wonderful week. If this is your first time tuning in, it will not be an entirely typical podcast, but somewhat. If you are a returning viewer, thanks for coming back this week and spending some time with me. I hope that you have had a really great weekend and your week is off to a good start. I didn't get a ton of crafting done this weekend. I did some, and I'm really pleased with everything I got done last week. I woke up this weekend with a cleaning bug. And I have not really cleaned or organized or felt any inclination to do any of those things in the last probably 2 years. And, on Friday night, I was lying in bed and, I guess maybe Saturday night, I was lying in bed and not sleeping. I don't know why you would sleep when you're lying in bed. And thinking about all the things that I kind of wanted to do, and one of the things at the top of my list was finally tidy up, get the clutter put away, rearrange things, put them back where they belong, try and clean some stuff out. And yesterday I was just on a tear. I got up and I went through my dresser, my closet, everything, and cleared out a full trash bag full of clothes to donate. And then actually I was talking to my husband and telling him about what I wanted to do, and I said the next thing I'm going to tackle is my bookcase, but I need a box for that, and he brought me a box, and so I went ahead and tackled my bookcase, and honestly I got rid of, ate some hair, and got rid of about half the things on it. Now some of them were knitting books, some of them were reading books, but it just feels really, really good to clean and get the cobwebs out. And there is so much stuff in this house, and I haven't really cleaned much since we moved in. And when I say clean, I mean like really go through and sort. And I'm not a fan of Marie Kondo in the sense that I don't want to like reduce everything in my house, but does it bring me joy? Do I wear it? Do I read it? Do I use it? Do I want to keep it as a reference? Is it sentimental? If none of those answers are yes, then I don't know why I'm keeping it. And I, particularly now that I am working from home in my craft room, and it's doing double and triple duty for spinning and knitting and my office and all my pen and ink things, I just feel an overwhelming sense of clutter. So I'm working on it. It's going to be in process for the next several weeks, but, and I realize summer is a weird time to do that, but I finally woke up yesterday morning and wanted to do it, and I am going to ride that urge for as long as I can, because as soon as it disappears, it'll be gone and I won't want to deal with it again. So, next up I have a huge baker's rack to my right here as I'm filming, and it is full of fiber and yarn and patterns and some more books that I might have room for on the bookshelf to my left now. And so that's kind of my next step. And then the big kahuna of all of it is the closet. This is basically a spare bedroom, and I don't want to say quite floor to ceiling because it's not quite that packed, but there is a ton of stuff in that closet in boxes and arranged, and I just need to get everything out of the closet, put my hands on it, and go through it and put it back. And so I don't know when that's going to happen. But yeah, so that's what I've been doing, and I'm just trying to make better use of my space. And yeah. So that's not quite crafty, but I think it's going to create more space for me to think about crafts. So let's get into the actual crafting because I do have a lot to show you. So today's tea is called Blithe Spirit. It is an herbal blend of ginger root, ginkgo biloba, jasmine flower, and blue pea flower. It was a sample of tea that I ordered when I ordered from, let me just move this so I can show you, FridayTea.com. It is Friday afternoon tea, and she does Dungeons and Dragons themed teas and some other hobby kind of teas. And I've had some that are very good from her. I don't know what I'm going to think about this one because it smells super strongly and kind of spicy like ginger, but then it's also got flowers and other things in it. And it's got something called blue pea flower, and it actually made the tea a little bit blue. Like, it's just a really odd color. I don't know if you can see. I don't think it's showing very well, and I can't show you much more because yeah, I am drinking it in my National World War I Museum mug, never forget, and it was the bicentennial, it was the centennial back in 2014 to 2018, so I am drinking that today. Ooh, that's nice. It actually is really nice. It smelled super spicy, and it does have a little bit of that. It reminded me a little bit of Verner's ginger ale. The way it's got that real spicy kick, but it is not as spicy, and it's got kind of the spicy ginger note and then some undernotes of floral, and I think that'll be nice this afternoon. And I have had my requisite caffeine, so I'm good with decaf tea. So that was a real nice one. Okay, let's get into the knits. I actually have one finished object, and I didn't talk about it with you because I didn't even know that I was going to knit it. Maybe I talked about it last. No, I don't think so. No, maybe I did. I think I did talk about it last week. This is the Snap Hat by Tin Can Knits. It is a pattern written to use up your sock weight scraps. It is meant to hold sock weight scraps quadrupled to create kind of a bulky hat. And I grabbed a whole bunch of different things and decided to put them together in a hat, and I finished my hat. This is for Miles. And like I said, I started with this blue, and then I actually dyed a sock gradient, and you can't really tell in the hat. It does start at a very lemony yellow and then go into a slightly more orange at the top. And then I'm going to continue with the gradient through a scarf that I am doing in a lot of the similar colors. And of course, no winter hat is complete without a pom-pom. This is super dense and squishy. And ultimately, the Snap Hat actually is written to be reverse stockinette, which I think is because if you're actually fading and dropping colors in and out, the fade is really nice through the hat. It's not quite as graphic or linear if you're doing it on the reverse stockinette side because of the way reverse stockinette does those transitions. But I actually liked the stockinette side and decided to keep it there. And some of that was also that you knit the hat inside out because it's easier to knit round and round and round than purl round and round and round. And I kind of didn't think about it, and I started all my ends on the inside, and actually I did show you last week, there are a couple spots where I missed a thread, and so that is on the wrong side, and while I could nip through and fix that, I just decided not to worry about it. So I went ahead and did this, and I am doing a very simple scarf to go with it. I just want it to be a big squishy scarf, and it will finish the transition in this yarn. And what I did was I just cast on, and I did a couple rows of garter stitch, and then I have 2 rows of garter stitch, or 2 stitches that I'm keeping in garter stitch at the edge so it will lay flat, and the rest is just in stockinette. And I did not bring that with me. I think I have about 4 or 5 inches. That's just going to be a quick knit, and I'm still using, so I used several different colors in this one. I think I showed them all to you last week. I have a brown, I have a blue speckle, and I had kind of a red purple, and I found another red purple in my stash, so I'm going to use those 3 again, and then with the final one, which is the rainbow one on the scarf, and then I should have blue and the blue speckle and enough of the brown to go ahead and do mittens in those. And the mittens, I haven't decided whether I'm going to do it quadruple thick or whether I'm going to just do double or triple based on what I have left. I haven't decided yet. And I'll probably use more of the Tin Can Knits patterns like the world's simplest mittens and then just you know, double or triple strand to get the bulk that I want. But yeah, I was really happy with that. It's super, super squishy and super, super warm. And of course, my niece and nephew live in Chicago. So warm is not a problem in winter because it is awfully cold there. So I'm going to continue working on this set sort of in the background. I might bring it to show you next week. I might not. But I'm happy to kind of have the first winter bit of gear done, and I'll just keep working on that. And I've already picked out some colors for Roxy's as well. So, and it's a good way to use up a lot of yarn in the stash. This hat is about 400 yards of fingering weight by the time you hold it quadrupled, and then by the time you add a really crazy sized pom-pom. So it was, when I got done, it was about 111 grams, which is almost 113 or 4 ounces. So yeah, really, really dense, really lovely, and will be super, super warm. So that's my only finished object this week, but I have made great progress on my sweater projects. So let's talk about them. First up is the sweater project that I am doing for my niece for her winter sweater. And this is kind of a mashup of Little Sock Arms by Stephanie Lotvin, who is Telly Bean Knits. And then I sort of mashed it up with the Flax Light Sweater pattern. I'm not sure why I didn't end up knitting the Little Sock Arms. By all accounts, it is a well-written pattern. There are some minor differences in that the Little Sock Arms is from the bottom up, and then you split for the front and back, and then you kind of short row the sleeve caps and work the sleeves downward. And of course, Tin Can Knits Flax is just a simple raglan sweater. The Flax and Flax Light actually have some garter stitch detailing, which I'm choosing to skip because they don't fit with kind of what I want to do with it. But I'm definitely merging the two patterns, and the idea definitely came from Stephanie Lotvin, who is Telly Bean Knits, because it's her sock arm sweater. So I am using a couple yarns from Havirland, who is Havirland on Etsy. She is lovely. She creates lovely yarns. And the inspiration for the sweater came from a skein of stripy sock yarn that she made up that she called Unicorn Taco. And it's got this great pink stripe, a mint green stripe, and then this, it comes across as blue, but it's really kind of a royal purple. And that was where I got, oh, and then a speckled stripe. And that's where I got the idea that I would want to use this for the sweater. And then when I couldn't find a coordinating semi-solid from another dyer, I went back and asked if she would even consider doing a custom order, and she said yes, and she dyed me a full skein of the speckled. I looked in her shop this weekend because somebody asked me about it, and both of these are now available for pre-order, so you could order one or both of these and make your own sock sweater. I was joking that I want a Unicorn Taco sweater, and one of my friends was like, well, could you order it from her? And I was thinking, yeah, I probably could. That would be kind of funny, and Roxy would probably be kind of thrilled if we're twinning. I probably won't. Well, I should say, I do want to do a sock arm sweater for myself. There are adult patterns. Sock arms, basically, the inspiration for it was using these great stripy sock arms to be, these great stripy sock yarns to be the sleeves of a sweater, because sleeves of a sweater are, they might be a little wider, but they're fairly comparable to sock circumference, so the striping would still maintain a nice pattern. And so the thought was you could use a semi-solid for the body and then use up your favorite sock yarns. Now, there are patterns, the patterns are for children and adults. There are pullovers, there are cardigans, it's in fingering weight, it's in worsted weight, so there are lots of iterations, whatever you would like. And I do hope to one day make one for myself, and I don't know whether I'll use flax or whether I'll use little sock arms, but I have been thinking about it. But right now I'm making them for my niece and nephew for their birthdays in the fall. Roxy will be 8 and Miles will be 5. Let me think about this. Yes, Roxy will be 8, Miles will be 5 this year. So these are the colors that I am doing, and when I spoke to you last week, I had divided for the armholes on the Flax Light and hoped to finish the body. Well, I am close to finishing the body. I've just got that little bit left. I just haven't quite finished. I will definitely use up almost every scrap of this, and I probably will not have enough to do the collar and the hem, so I will need to think about what I want to do for that, and I have not decided yet. And because I have not decided and I didn't want to get there yet, I just decided to go for the arm. So what you have here is you have the full body that I knit. Basically it needs another inch or two on the bottom plus a hem. And then I actually started in on the sleeve last night, and I am super pleased with it. It looks really, really fun. I didn't actually know that the speckled section in the stripes was actually going to be almost twice as long as the other stripes. And I don't know what I would have done differently if I had known. I might have ordered a different color for the body because it is super speckle crazy now. And so I might have ordered like a pink or the green or something for the body just to make it a little bit different. But I am pleased with it. And it's really funny because when she dyed the speckle in the full skein, she said to me, I hope I sort of approximated what I did in the sock skein, because I didn't think about like recreating it in a full skein. And she was very sweet. She offered that if it did not match, she would re-dye it for me. And I think the sock skein has a little, just a smidge more pink in it. It looks a little bit more pink than some of the areas of the sweater, but I really don't care. It looks like it matches. And I am most of the way done with the sleeve. I only have a few more inches before I go to the ribbing. So that knit up real fast. I did that mostly over the weekend. And so then I'll do the other sleeve, and then I will figure out what I'm going to do for the collar and the hem. Basically, the collar and the hem will have ribbing on them, and what I just haven't decided is what precisely I'm going to use. I could try and find a semi-solid in my stash that would go with the speckles, but not conflict with words, but not clash with what I've got going in the sleeves. I could use the leftover sock yarn. I'm sure I'm not going to run out of the stripy sock yarn ball. The only problem is that then, because the circumference on the body and the collar are so much larger than the sleeves, I don't know what it will do to the stripes, and I don't know if it will just look kind of odd and not give it enough distinction. So I haven't really decided. I think the reason that I ran out of the body, there are two reasons I think I ran out of the body yarn. One is that I did not do the sock arms sweater, which actually called for, like I said, the body in the round from the bottom up, and then back and forth over the front and back, and then this section that you have here for the raglan sleeves, that wouldn't be there. That would all be stripy sock yarn. The only reason that's there is because when you're knitting in the round and you're doing raglan increases, you have to, it would be very, very difficult to build stripy yarn into that little divot there. So I think that's probably the yarn that I'm missing. I also ended up going up a size. The way Flax Light is sized is the sizes are 6 to 8 and 8 to 10. And because Roxy is going to be 8 this year, and I was hoping she'd get more than 1 year out of the sweater, I actually knit the 8 to 10 rather than the 6 to 8. And so I was a little short on what I needed for the sock yarn. The sock yarn is Havirland's Potomac base, which is superwash merino and nylon, and it is fairly thin. It is 463 yards to 4 ounces. So this is going to be a fairly lightweight top, but I figure she can put a t-shirt under it and it will just be fun. And it'll be useful in fall and spring when the temperatures are not super, super cold, and then she can just layer it. And part of that, that's also part of why I knit it a little bit bigger, because I figured for now she can layer stuff underneath it to stay warm. So that's where I'm at with it. I'm super, super pleased, and my hope is that I'll finish this by the end of the month. I think I can. Today's the 21st. I should be able to get through another sleeve, and once I figure out what's going on at the top and bottom, kind of make all of that happen. And then I will do a second one for Miles, and his is completely different in terms of colors and yarns, but it will be the same process, so you'll get to watch me knit the same sweater twice in a row. So I'm super pleased with this. Again, this is a mashup of Little Sock Arms by Stephanie Lotvin of Telly Bean Knits, and the Flax Light Pullover by Tin Can Knits, which is a free pattern. Both patterns are available off of Ravelry, and the yarns that I am using are from Havirland, who has a nice shop on Etsy. All of these will be linked in the show notes over on my website, and I should note, as I often do now, that there are no more Ravelry links from about episode 320 and forward. I stopped putting Ravelry links in my post. I have not gone back to fix the ones before that, but any future episodes you will not be directed to Ravelry if that's a problem for you. So my third and final project that my third project for this week, it's not final, my third project for this week that I have been working on is a sweater for me. And as I told you last week, I am calling it my Hot Girl Summer Sweater, because normally what happens around here is it gets super, super, super hot outside. I come indoors, it's air conditioned, I get cold, I put on a sweater. So I am still working on my sweater. It is the Dovetail Sweater, and it is by Quinn Reverendo. It was designed for Fairmount Fibers to be used with their Allegria Grande, which is their superwash merino nylon worsted weight. Super washable, gorgeous jewel tones and other colorways. And it was also designed to use their bocados, which bocado means little bite in Spanish, and those are mini skeins of the worsted weight. So they were designed to be used in colorwork, and this is a fairly simple colorwork sweater. It is a top-down yoke construction, and most of the colorwork happens right there in the yoke. And I am pleased to say that I have finished the yoke, and I am now working on the body. So this is what I have so far. Now I used the Allegria Grande in the bocados for my color work in the colorways Cactus Flower, Teal, Oceano, Turmeric, and Magenta. And so my color work is mostly done for now. There are a few little details on the sleeve cuffs where it comes in for a reprise. Now I'm showing my theater origins. When it comes in for a reprise, the main body yarn is actually a totally different yarn. It is a mill spun from Abundant Earth Fiber. They are a small sustainable spinning mill in just outside of Seattle, and they're on Bainbridge Island. No. Maybe. They're on a small island, and I can't remember which one. I think Church Mouse Yarn and Tees is on Bainbridge. Anyway, I have had some skeins in the stash. It's just a natural color. It's called Salt and Pepper, or I think it's called Pepper, and it's a real natural color, and it's got a little bit of dark in it. And like I said, I have finished the yoke, and now I am working on the body. This sweater has been a bit of an adventure, and in the do as I say, not as I do, I would not recommend it. However, I will tell you what I am doing. Don't try and do it, really. So I did swatch for this sweater, and in my swatch I got a gauge of approximately 5 stitches per inch on a US 5. The sweater pattern called for 6 stitches per inch on a US 7. And I was having trouble getting that and did not like the gauge on my fabric if I dropped any further. So I went ahead and stuck with what I had. And so what I did is I looked for the size that was the closest stitch count to what would translate to my size. So obviously in the pattern there was a stitch count for my size, but it was based on 6 stitches per inch. So what I did is I took 5 stitches per inch and figured out what that stitch count would be for my bust, and then I went and looked at all the versions of the pattern and figured out which size most corresponded to that gauge, so that I could basically knit my version using the same numbers in the pattern. So I chose to knit the extra small, which is the smallest size in the pattern, but would translate to what I believed would be a 38 inch. I believe when I did the math, it was translating to a 39.6 inch bust. That was going to give me a couple inches of positive ease. This sweater recommends either 2 or 6 inches of positive ease. It just depends how kind of oversized you want it to be. So I went ahead and knit the top, and then I went in and I knit all of my color work, and I followed the pattern. I should say the one thing that I did do is several chunks of the pattern say knit until you reach X inches. And for that, I actually used the medium numbers. So I was kind of doing a mishmash of the size extra small and the medium. I was using the stitch counts for the extra small, but because I wanted to be sure that it wasn't super short, because the extra small is actually also a little bit shorter than the medium, I also measured as I went and made sure that I hit the medium length measurement. So if it said, you know, knit in the main color until you get 2.5 inches from the, if the small size said 2 inches and the medium said 2.5 inches before you start the color work, I went to 2.5 inches before I started the color work. I did all the color work, and I did most of the increase rounds in the pattern, and then I got to the final increase round. And I looked at the sweater, and I looked at how many stitches the increase round was going to add, and I said, you know what? I don't think I'm I'm getting 5 stitches per inch. And I measured it, and I'm sort of getting 5 stitches per inch, but that's before blocking, and I know that this is going to grow when it blocks. First of all, this is superwash merino, so this section is going to grow some because of that, and this section is just a really nice mill spun, and it's probably going to bloom. So that means I'm probably getting more like 4.5 or 4 3/4 stitches to the inch, which now I'm like completely out of relevant gauge land. So what I decided to do, luckily this is top down, so what I decided to do is I went ahead and I put what I had of the yoke at the time, I put it on a couple long needles. I just took, I think, my zeros, my 47-inch zeros, and put one in the first half of the stitches and one in the second half, and then I went to the bathroom and tried on the yoke. And so I put it over my shoulders and I was like, no, I think that's probably where I need to be. I don't know that I want to do that 5th increase round that's going to add another probably 6 to 8 inches to the circumference, because that is going to be really oversized and I'm just going to swim in it. So what I did is I went back and I recalculated my dividing round based on the number of stitches I had, and I used the percentage system. I went and looked, so if I took, for the extra small size, I looked at, when I did the separation round, what percentage of stitches would be held for the sleeves and what percentage of the stitches would be held for front and back, and then what I would cast on underneath for the underarm. And I did the math, and then I applied it to my current stitch count. And it actually applied really, really easily. It was not a big deal at all. So then I knit my dividing round based on my stitch count. And so I took a few fewer stitches off for the sleeves and a few fewer stitches off for the body. And the one thing that I did do is I added, I think, 2 extra stitches under the underarm. And that is because I was a little afraid that maybe under the underarm would be a little bit tight, or the sleeves would be a little bit tight, and I wanted to be sure that I took care of that. Then what I did is I knit like 2 more rounds, and then I tried it on again to see if my sleeves were going to be too tight or my body was going to be too tight. And worst case, I could have ripped back and done some kind of increase round, but not as many as the pattern suggested. And that looked pretty good, but I still wasn't entirely sure, because if you've knit a sweater top down in the round, you know that when you only have a couple rounds here, that things stretch funny and they flip up. And so then I decided that I was going to knit a few more inches and then try it on one final time. So I'm pleased to say that I knit probably between 4 and 5 more inches on the body. And then I went ahead and slipped it on my long needles and tried it on one more time, and it looks right. It's not super tight, it's not super loose. It will definitely be a more close-fitting sweater, not a real oversized sweater, so I probably just have an inch or 2 of ease as opposed to like 4 or 5 inches. But this is working. So, don't do this, because I joked last week about Patty Lyons. Patty Lyons is a wonderful knitting instructor, and I have watched multiple episodes of her podcast where she talks about gauge and gauge swatching. And she says, you know, if you're not going to knit the pattern at the recommended gauge, you are not going to end up with the garment in the pattern. Like, you can mess with it and you can calculate yourself and you can fly by the seat of your pants, but you may not end up being happy with the garment. And I will say that if you're going to deviate from it, as you can tell, there's a lot of math and a lot of calculations and a lot of trying it on and a lot of waiting and seeing and crossing your fingers and hoping and praying. And so I will say it's not necessarily the optimal. For me, it's working, but I also have spent a lot of time fretting over this, and I'm only finally now in the stage where I feel like, okay, it fits my body, I'm liking it, now I can proceed. So, I do have quite a bit more to do. The body, I have another 6 or 8 inches before I complete. The sweater calls for kind of a short body, but I'll probably make it a little bit longer. I have plenty of the main color yarn because I had 5 skeins of the yarn to begin with, and of course I did a bunch of the yoke in colors. So I'll have plenty of yarn, and then it will be long sleeved, and then, like I said, there is a small reprise of this kind of color work at the sleeves. It's only in one color, so it's just one motif, and what I'm probably going to do is just weigh these and see which one I have the most of. It's probably the pink, and so I will repeat that at the sleeve. So this is coming along nicely. Again, I'm calling this my hot girl summer sweater, and I will not finish this month, but my hope is that I will work on it this month and next month, just in time to not wear it in August because it will be super, super hot, but I will have a nice brand new sweater for the fall. And it's also nice because I've had this, at least the main color, in my stash for at least a couple years now, so I'm really pleased to be able to use it up. I suspect I'll have a little bit left over. I might knit myself a hat to match and put in some of these stripes if I can. I might order another bocado. I don't know. I might go wild. So that is my dovetail sweater by Quinn Reverendo for Fairmount Fibers, using some Allegria Grande, which is again Monostel Uruguay Yarns, Fairmount Fibers, and Fairmount Fibers is the U.S. distributor of Monostel Uruguay Yarns. So using Allegria Grande from Monostel Uruguay, love it, and using some Milkspun from Abundant Earth Fiber. This was a special edition, but they have plenty of other batches on their website. They are also the mill that does some work for Spin Cycle and some other yarns. So they're a fun mill. Check them out, and there will be a link to them in the show notes. So one more thing, and then we'll talk about spinning. This week I picked up last week I picked up another chicken. So I just thought I would show you. I knit chickens for the City Girl Farm. They are a local artisan here in Kansas City, and they use all kinds of wool and other accoutrement to create beautiful artistic chickens. Technically they are called chicken footstools, although I don't think most people put their feet on them. They are art pieces, and I have the privilege and the pleasure of getting to help create. This week I am knitting in the last week, I have been knitting a black, white, gray, and silver thread. It's really hard to see. I don't know if you'll be able to see a little bit of you probably can't see a ton of the silver thread. There is a lot of silver thread, just bits and pieces in there, and it gives it like a nice subtle shine. What it is this is thick and thin hand spun. It is not mine. Somebody else did it. And then a second person actually, oh, you can see just a little bit there, plied it with silver thread. So I am turning this into a piece of fabric that will cover the chicken, and I have plenty of fiber for this, and my hope is that I will actually finish this one this week. I work through a skein or two a night. It's pretty quick. It's just that it is on big bulky needles, and I am doing the loop stitch, which creates all this great textural fabric, and so my hope is to finish this one. This is a custom, so it was picked by someone and already has a purchaser, which is always nice, and so I am just trying to finish that up this week and get that back to them. So that's on my list this week. Hopefully, like I said, I will finish Roxy's sweater, and I will finish this one, and maybe make some progress on my sweater and or Miles' scarf. So let's talk about spinning. Sip of tea first. So I have not been spinning for myself these last couple weeks. I am spinning for another chicken, completely separate from this chicken, and it is also black and white. And I have one more bobbin to spin, and I'm hoping to do that either today or tomorrow, and then I will be done spinning for the chicken, and I will get to go back to my spinning. Spinning for the chicken just means that I'm going to spin and knit another chicken, and it is commission work, which is great, but it is not all the fun braids I have in my stash, and it is not, I don't put those up in my Etsy shop, because then I turn them into chickens, and they go to the chicken shop. So, it is about time for me to get back into spinning, and that is perfect because this Saturday kicks off Tour de Fleece. Tour de Fleece is an event that started on Ravelry Lothies many years ago. I first joined, I think, in 2010 when I first learned how to spin, and it is an event where spinners spin alongside the Tour de France, which takes place in, it's the huge bike raid that takes place in France. This year, the Tour de Fleece runs from June 26th through July 18th. There are challenge days, which are the hardest days on the tour. There are rest days, which are right after the hard days on the tour. And the point of Tour de Fleece is to spin as much or as little as you want, work on any skills you want, work on any fibers you want, spin with friends, watch the tour, don't watch the tour. It is just a fun summer event, and I anticipate it every summer because First of all, it gives me sort of an excuse to do almost nothing but spin for 3 weeks straight, which I love, because normally I am pulled between so many different projects, and I will be knitting because I do have some samples and some other things that will come in. But I dedicate generally a couple hours every evening to spinning, and I don't really do that at other times during the year. So it's kind of a fun time of year. So there is a Corner of Knit and Tea Ravelry team. We have done that in the past. Technically, we are officially registered on Ravelry because Ravelry is where it has taken place. However, if you cannot use Ravelry, I am with you, and I do not want you to feel like you have to be able to join the team. I have started a Facebook group called Team CKT. The link for that will also be in the show notes for this episode on my website. You are welcome to join the Facebook group and post there. You are welcome to post on Instagram with the hashtag Team CKT 2021. And anywhere you would like to participate, you are more than welcome to. If you want to be eligible for prizes, go ahead and post somewhere or send me an email and tell me that you're participating with us, because otherwise I don't know how to know if you're part of the team and if I should be putting you in the prize draw. I will be drawing for prizes as usual. I have not entirely figured out how I'm going to do that. I will be looking at the chat threads on Ravelry in Facebook, and I will also be looking for the hashtag on Instagram. I usually draw a prize per week and send that out to someone. It is fiber. I'll show you some of the yummy braids today that I will be including in that. And the only thing I haven't decided is how best to sort of do that across platforms. Usually in the past, I have just drawn from the chat threads on Ravelry, but because that is no longer inclusive, I will come up with something different. I don't know if I'll pick a different platform each week, or if I'll just put everything into the hat, or what precisely I will do. But that will happen, and then I will announce it in all 3 places and make sure to get in contact with you. So that will be happening, and you can participate from anywhere in the world. You can spin whatever fiber you want. You can spin on whatever wheel, spindle, charka, whatever you want. Just spin. Unfortunately, this is not open to knitters and crocheters because it's a spinning event. That's pretty much the only rule I have. And like I said, you have to post somewhere to let me know you're participating if you want me to throw you in the prize pot. So those are like my only 2 rules. You can double, triple dip, spin on as many teams as you want. I don't care. Have fun. That's the whole point of this. So I have decided that I'm going to do some kind of combination between spinning for a sweater spin and spinning a few braids to go up in the shop. That's partially because it gets boring doing just one fiber during the Tour de Fleece, but it's a great time to actually knock out a whole bunch of fiber. I'm thinking that I'm going to spin, and then maybe I'm going to take what I spin during Tour de Fleece and knit it up into a sweater during Nanny Swaymo. That's just a plan for now. Don't hold me to it. It's like 6 months away. I can't be held to anything. So, the fiber that I am going to use for my sweater spin, so this one is for me, is called Mutter. And this is kind of a burgundy/brown. It's pretty much a semi-solid, and I decided that I might want to do a semi-solid for a sweater. And so this is on Polworth. It's Polworth from the Falkland Islands, which I thought is really interesting because I thought Falkland came from the Falkland Islands. I mean, I'm sure it does. But apparently they raised Polworth there too. And this was a semi-solid dyed by Adrienne of Hello Yarn. And it was a semi-solid that went along with another fiber, one of her club fibers. She also dyes semi-solids, and I decided that maybe for a hand-spun sweater I would go semi-solid this time rather than hugely variegated. And I don't know that the monitor is letting you see, but it actually really is very semi-solid, and I think it will be really nice. It's got some really light areas, some really dark areas, and it's just kind of a brownish plum, which is, I think, a good color against my skin. So I'm really happy with this. I have, I think, 6 braids of this for £1.50. Usually I can get a sweater out of £1, but I wanted to be sure I had enough for no matter what I wanted to do with it at the end. And actually I do have 1 variegated braid that actually goes with this color quite well. And so what I haven't decided is whether I'm going to spin that up and maybe use that to do something in the yoke, or whether I'll spin it up and ply it with 1 thread of this to, I haven't decided, but I might add a little bit of variegated color. But this will be my primary This will be my primary spin for Tour de Fleece, and I will say that usually during Tour de Fleece, I get somewhere between 1.5 and 2 pounds spun. So if I can get the 1.5 pounds of the sweater spin and maybe a couple other braids, that would be fabulous. So I went through and pulled out a bunch of other things that I want to share with you. Some of these are prizes, and I will tell you where, and then some of these are things I want to spin myself. Continuing my journey through BIPOC fiber designers, or BIPOC fiber dyers, I went ahead and placed an order with the Neighborhood Fiber Company, who is Karita Collins, and I ordered 2 things, and they looked kind of different in the photographs, but when they arrived here, they're actually quite similar. So, and it's hard, I'm sorry, I should have done this before, but there's going to be a little bit of crinkling. This is called Cobblestone Roving. It's 75% blue-faced Leicester, 25% silk, and the colorway is Petworth, and it is blues and browns. And that bright blue, it is just so gorgeous, and it's super, super intense, and then it's got some browns and maybe a little bit of purple in here, but it's just really, really lovely. And I don't think the photos on their site were as saturated as the braids are, which doesn't bother me in the least, but this is one of them. And then the other one is very, very similar, although I think it has a little bit more purple. And this one is also Polworth Roving, 100% Polworth, and the colorway is Hamilton, I believe, named after Hamilton. And this is blues and purples. So these are somewhat similar, and what I decided was one for me, one for you. So I will draw for the prize, and I'll probably give the prize winner their choice of which one they would like, and I'll take some photos and send them to them, and then one will go to one of you, and one will stay with one of me, and hopefully maybe be spun during the tour. I found another BIPOC dyer this past week and a half or so, and this one I found courtesy of Jillian Moreno. She posted about this dyer in her feed, and I actually bought 2 braids that I'm probably going to keep for the shop, so because I really wanted to try it. The dyer is Kumasi, and she is a dye, I believe it is a she, but I'm not sure. She is a dyer out of San Francisco, and this one is hand-dyed superwash merino, comb to top, approximately 4 ounces, and I cannot remember what the colorway was, but I love it. It's green, and then it has these little pops of red. And this one, actually, I might spin as a birthday gift for a friend because she is a total green lover, although I don't know, it may end up looking too Christmassy. We'll just have to see, but something about it just, it's got all these bright pops of green, and I don't know that the monitor is doing it justice. It's a lot brighter than it's appearing on there. It's just really like limey green and olive green and kind of a Kelly green that just pops with a little bit of blue. So I'm going to spin that one, hopefully during the tour. And then I brought a few other things as prizes. I brought, this is Hello Yarn Nimble. This is the May 2021 Fiber Club in Falkland wool, and it is blues and greens, a little bit of teal, some swampy yellows and golds and grays. Well, I guess that's not super gray. That's definitely blue. And this will be one of the prizes going out to one of you. And then I have one more braid that I wanted to share, and this one is also going to be a prize. This is called Flamingo, and it is on Fat Cat Knits 4 ounces of Polworth. I love Fat Cat Knits, and this is just bright. It's grays and aquamarine turquoise and pink, and it was so much fun and bright pops of color. And I actually got another braid of this that was on a bamboo blend, and I spun it up a while ago, and it looks kind of ethereal. It's kind of fun, but I thought I would send this one out to one of you for some fun spinning. And then finally, if I have time, I've picked one more braid, and this is from one of my favorite dyers. It is a local to me dyer, Apothecary Fabrications, and this is one of her Corriedale braids, and it is called Lichen Hop. And I don't know that I think of lichen when I see this, but it's greens, and it's a whole bunch of greens and blues and grays. I guess it's really mostly green. It's like a forest, well, it's got some teals. It's blues and teals and forest green and grays, and I just love it. And I love her fiber. Her fiber is just so luscious. I need to order more. So that's kind of my plans for the Tour de Fleece. I don't know exactly what will happen, but I hope to get lots of spinning done. If you are a spinner and would like to give it a try, please, please, please come join us. Like I said, just let me know somewhere across social media that you would like to participate. Share as many or as few photos as you'd like. The more photos you share, the more chances you have for the kind of chatty prize draws. But at the end, I will do one prize draw for some fiber and a care package from me. That I'll pull from everyone on the team, so everyone on the team will have an equal chance on that one regardless of how much you participate. And I hope you have a good time. This is one of my favorite times of year, and I'm really, really, really excited. So I think that brings my long-winded podcast to a close. That was 2 long weeks in a row. I hope I didn't take too much of your time. I hope you have a wonderful week up ahead. I hope if you're a spinner and you're getting ready for Tour de Fleece, do everything to prep this week. Oil the wheel, draft the fiber, get everything set to go, line up some movie marathons, or purchase a pass to The Peacock, which is NBC, and that's where they're going to be, it's NBC's online streaming service, and that's where they're going to be airing the tour this year. Have a good week, and I look forward to seeing you next week. So until then, I'll say happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.